share and talk some Dynasty football. I am your host, JJ Wenner.
I'm Don Detweiler.
I'm Rob Mongol.
I'm Kit Vitalich.
And this is the Rider Dynasty podcast. Tonight on the show, we are picking our ride or die players. These are the players in each round in whom we have the most confidence. Now, before we get into tonight's show, do me a favor. Give us a follow on Twitter at Rider Dynasty and check out the website riderdynasty.com for all of our latest articles. And now, the news. Don, according to The Athletic's Matt Barrows, the 49ers want to run the ball 500 times in 2021. If they run the exactly 500 times, what percent do you see going to Trey Sermon, and why does this make him an RB1 this season?
If they're going to run it 500 times, I would surmise that Trey Sermon would have to take at least half, so talking 250 touches. I would expect that will put him in the back end of RB1 territory, considering that they have an outstanding offensive line and that he is likely to be the goal line guy. So my prediction there is that he would make him somewhere in the order of RB 10 to 12 if he can catch once in a while.
Rob, Aaron Rodgers kicked some serious tail in the match yesterday, all while dropping lines about the Packers. If Rodgers does not play this year, what is the Packers' record?
Jordan Love has yet to take a live snap with contact. It scares me a little bit. I didn't like him coming out of college. Assuming Rodgers doesn't come back to Green Bay this year, I can't see it looking pretty. Maybe 4-13, 5-12, somewhere along those lines.
Kit, N'Keal Harry requested a trade from the Patriots. Do you think that he has any dynasty value left?
I really don't. I mean, I think that he requested a trade because his agent saw the writing on the wall that he was going to get cut and thought, hey, if someone will throw a seventh toward him, that gives him a reasonable chance of not being out of the league in 2 years. But the stuff that he wasn't good at, he's continued to not be good at. He doesn't get any separation. He has looked okay on some jump balls, and I can't say his situation has been good, first 2 years being injured and then playing with the kind of the shell of Cam last year. But I just think the likelihood that he's ever someone you'll be able to rely on as a starter is less than 5%.
So you're saying there's a chance, though?
Hey, there's always a chance. There's always a chance, but it seems unlikely at this point.
All right. Well, Riders, we are in the eye of the hurricane right now. Everything is calm, except if you are playing in the fishbowl. The idea behind this exercise is to show that even within the same cohort, players' values are completely dependent upon your roster construction and your dynasty plan. Now, we are going to look at Sleeper ADP for Dynasty Superflex startups. Thank you to Sleeper for sharing their data on Twitter. It is phenomenal what they're doing. They are a great platform for both new and established Dynasty leagues. So definitely check out Sleeper. Now, each of us will pick one player from each round of ADP in whom we are supremely confident will deliver us to a championship this year. One player who is our ride and die for this season. Now, let's start with the first round, gentlemen. According to Sleeper, here is the order of the first 12 picks in ADP. Pat Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Dak Prescott, and Trevor Lawrence. Don, 7 quarterbacks and 5 running backs. Who is your round one ride or die?
All right, I'm going to say this loud and as clearly as I possibly can. If you are blessed with the 101, you take Patrick Mahomes and you shut up about it and run. Put a thumbtack in your quarterback position, your starting quarterback, for the next 10 years and enjoy the fruits of your labors and your good fortune. Because realistically, it is so difficult to get high volume, high value quarterbacks that you can just forget about the position and fix the rest. You take Mahomes, you love it, and you enjoy the heck out of it. He's dominant now. He's going to be dominant for a long time because that offense is entirely geared do everything he does well.
All right, so we have one vote for Pat Mahomes. Can't argue with Pat Mahomes. I won't agree with it, but I won't argue with it. Rob, who do you have as your ride or die in round one?
I don't think you can go wrong with any of these guys in the first 6 picks. I wanted to shed some light on someone going a little bit later, and my pick here is Dalvin Cook. I think he's a slam dunk running back. He's going as the RB3 currently, and right behind Saquon, and I think that's exactly where he deserves to be. Maybe going behind Jonathan Taylor. He's only 25 years old. He'll turn 26 before the season starts, and he's been nothing but consistent, apart from a few niggling injuries and an ACL tear. You can expect him to miss, 1 or 2 games a year.
But that's every running back misses 1 or 2 games a year, it seems like.
Exactly. And he's going to put up monster numbers. He's back in the same offense that he's familiar with. He's got a new left tackle and a new contract. Well, the contract's 1 year old at this point. But all he's done is rack up points for the last 2 seasons. He's finished top 5 2 years in a row. He's got at least 54 targets, in the last 2 seasons, and he's got at least 1,100 on the ground. He's consistent on the ground. He's consistent through the air. He's going to be used no matter what. If they're trailing, if they're winning, Dalvin Cook gets the ball. He's as safe as they come.
And that's something you can't say about the other player you mentioned, Jonathan Taylor. We don't know what that timeshare is going to be in Indianapolis. We don't know. I really like Jonathan Taylor and wanted to see him picked here, but that's the reason I didn't, because we know what Dalvin Cook gets, and we know he's going to get his. I'm not sure about Taylor. Kit, where are you at? Who is your ride or die for the first round?
I went with Dak Prescott. So a lot of reasons why I'm high on Dak Prescott. Partially that he's at the back half of the round, and I actually prefer him or think he offers more certainty to Kyler or Herbert. So just some points as to why. The defense was 28th in points allowed last year. They did draft Micah Parsons, but otherwise I still expect them to be a very terrible defense. He's going to have to throw a lot. They have great weapons, right? Probably hard to argue they're not top 5 in the NFL in terms of their weapons. He has that contract, so he's there for the rest of his foreseeable prime, you would think. Now, these numbers are obviously inflated, but to speak to how much they had to throw last year with that terrible defense, through the first 4 games, he was on pace for over 800 passing attempts and 6,500 yards. Now, he wouldn't have sustained that, and I don't expect him to do that this year, but I expect a lot of volume and a lot of yards, just as a matter of necessity.
I'm going to tell you that I am a proud resident of Dakistan.
All right.
And I don't plan on moving anytime soon. My choice for my ride or die player for the first round is Dak Prescott as well.
Boom.
And honestly, even if I'm not making a championship push, he is my QB too. I do have Pat Mahomes ahead of him, but I like his rushing floor. Dak has averaged over 300 yards and 5 TDs per season in the seasons where he had played 16 games. Last year, obviously, he didn't. But in 5 games, he already had 3 rushing TDs last year. I think his rushing floor, you have to have a rushing floor now to be a top 5 QB. And Dak has both the arm and the legs to deliver my team a championship. He's my ride or die.
I totally agree. The only thing I would say, just in terms of strategy I had here, if you're sitting at 3 or 4, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, who's going around there, I'd look to trade back to the back half of the round. I mean, in startups, people get foolish about their future draft picks. You could turn that into, 23 first to a team that maybe is unstable, and, you get to go ahead and still get the guy who I like better, and people think they won something by moving up 7 spots in the first round. So that'd be my advice there.
And if they think they beat you in a trade, they'll come back and ask for it again.
Exactly.
All right, round 2, back to Sleeper ADP. We start with Derrick Henry, followed by Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Nick Chubb, Russell Wilson, Cam Akers, Joe Burrow, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, DeAndre Swift, Devontae Adams, and Najee Harris. Rob, we finally see the wide receivers start coming off the board as 5 are picked in this round. Who is your round 2 ride or die?
I'm going to stick with the wide receivers here and pick A.J. Brown as my ride or die. I think there's an argument to be made that he's the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. He's going as the wide receiver 3 here in the back half of the second round. He's only 24 years old. He's significantly younger than Tyreek Hill. I believe he's the same age as Justin Jefferson. Maybe Jefferson's a year younger, but he's only 24 years old. I'm not worried about Julio coming. It's going to be Tannehill. I'm a giant Tannehill truther. I know I've talked about him ad nauseum on this podcast before, but he's got a great quarterback. I think a top 12 quarterback feeding him the ball. Not a lot of target competition. And he was a wide receiver 1 last year on 2 bad knees. He's got a cleanup procedure in the offseason. He's going to come back stronger, faster, more reliable, and with less double coverage on him with Julio taking the targets away. And I think you here in the back half of the second round, you've got a guy who not only produces immediately, but is young and produces for the better part of a decade for your dynasty team.
Yeah, you can't argue with A.J. Brown. The way he clowns cornerbacks and just snatches the ball. It reminded me a lot of Des Bryant and T.O. back in their day, when it didn't matter who was around them. When the ball's in the air, it's his ball. And that's the attitude he plays with. I really like A.J. Brown. Kit, who is your round 2 ride or die?
Give me Devontae Adams. So I know that he's probably gone down a little bit because people are worried about Rodgers possibly not being there. I'm personally of the opinion that Rodgers will be there, but just for some context, with the great Brett Hundley throwing him the ball back in 2017, he was on pace for 93 catches, 1,100 yards, and 9 touchdowns on a 16-game pace. So even if it's guy who's not very good throwing the ball, I believe in his talent enough to win there. He's perceived as older, but he really won't be 30 until the 2023 season. So I think if 2 or 3 seasons at least before you can expect any age-related decline. And then even if it is Jordan Love, the other targets on that team are just not very good, right? I mean, he's competing with MVS, Lazard. I mean, they have a rookie in Amari Rodgers, and Bob Tonyan caught touchdowns last year. But really, it's him. Regardless of whether it's Rodgers there or not, I expect him to have one of the highest target percentage shares of any receiver in the league. Again, whether I'm trying to see if the manager, who has him is trying to contend, if they're scared about Rodgers, I'm willing to take that risk. If his price went down from 3 first-round picks to 2 first-round picks, and you can swing that, he's going to help you compete for a championship over the next 2 to 3 years. I think with Rodgers, but even without him, he'll be right there.
Yeah, Devontae Adams definitely has the ability to change your season, right? Every game he's in might be a 50-point game. His connection with Aaron Rodgers is absolutely beautiful. Now, my round 2 ride or die is Derrick Henry, and I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I said it, but I did. Derrick Henry. First of all, he is healthy. He has missed only 2 games in his entire career. He gets all of the carries, 303 and 378 in the past 2 years. He scores a lot. He averages 15 rushing TDs over the past 3 seasons. Now, I know that he doesn't catch passes, and I don't really care. If he is getting 300-plus touches, he will finish as a top 5 running back. I want Derrick Henry on my team, and I am so sure of his production that he is my ride or die in round 2.
So he's a little bit of a freak, but I am curious. Do you have any concern that the high touch counts that you mentioned are going to eventually take a toll?
Sure, eventually they will. He doesn't have a typical body.
He doesn't. That's true.
And for years I was a huge anti-Derrick Henry guy. There's no way he can come back and do it year after year, but he does. And some people are just built differently. Hell, maybe he's Bruce Willis in Unbreakable, but that dude is a man among boys while he plays the game, and I'm not worried at all. Don,
I'm a little
who was
worried.
your ride or die? I don't care about you, Rob. I don't care what you're worried about.
Round 2 ride
You
or
will
die
not
for
poop
me.
on my parade. Don, go ahead.
Round 2 ride for me. The guy I want on my team, and I would be super stoked in round 2 to get, would be Justin Jefferson. He's a plug-and-play guy for at least 10 years because he's not quarterback dependent. This is crazy when we're talking about a wide receiver that's not quarterback dependent, but he's got Kirk Cousins, a league average quarterback right now, and he destroyed the league as a rookie. Year 1, elite route running, tremendous catch radius, dynamic off-the-line ability, abject talent. And when Cousins eventually goes by the wayside, and he will, the next guy to come in, as long as he can just do league average stuff, Jefferson is going to continue to produce for you. That is production you can pencil in and count on without elite quarterback play, and that is unbelievable. Imagine if the next guy happens to be elite. Good Lord, we could be rewriting record books here. So he's who I want. I want to keep it, and I want to pencil that in for the next 10 years and forget about it. Because in rounds 1 and 2, I want to build the foundations of my team, and then I can get adventurous.
My question to you, Don, about Justin Jefferson is, did we see his best season?
You know, it's always such a question when you have numbers that high. You look for the second-year regression, but everything he did doesn't talk about regression numbers here. His catch radius was good. His drops were negligible, so it's not like he caught an unbelievably high percentage of passes. He was just super solid all the way around. So the numbers aren't outliers. They're actually realistic for repeat.
I think he peaked yardage-wise, but he's got nowhere to go but up as far as the touchdowns are concerned to make up for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I saw something that in the first weeks 1 through 9, he got double-digit targets twice, and then from 10 through 17, it was 6 of the 8 games or something like that. So if you look at that second, half pace, could even be build on what he did, which sounds ridiculous, but I think is in the realm of possibility.
Phenomenal. You just love seeing that. Now, round 3, time to go back to the sleeper data. Now, although this is not a tight end premium ADP, we do start to see some of the big men come off the board. Now, starting at pick 25, we have Kelsey, Diggs, Dobbins, Zeke, Kittle, Antonio Gibson, Hopkins, Aaron Jones, CEH, CD, Calvin Ridley, and Kyle Pitts. Kit, we had 3 tight ends, no QBs in this round. Who is your round 3 ride or die?
I'm going with the guy I think I like more than most people do, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So, I mean, the biggest thing here is he's tied to Patrick Mahomes for what you should be considering in terms of your dynasty future, right? For the next 4 years of his career. He was first-round pick, so he has an extra year on his rookie contract over the other 2020 backs. I think expectations were so high last year, and then him getting injured, it really has taken, really made people turn away from him. If you look at what he was on pace for in terms of a 16-game pace through the first 10 games that he completed, he got injured halfway through the 11th. He was on pace for 1,400 total yards, 46 catches, 8 total touchdowns. And so I don't necessarily want to bank on TDs, but being in what's likely the best offense in the league for the next 4 seasons, feels like he has a good chance to, vary into a higher TD season. And even if he's not what I think and he's just an average talent, his contracting situation is going to give him staying power. Maybe he is more like RB20, but he's RB20 for 4 or 5 years, and you can rely on that as your RB2 or hopefully RB3. So if people are down on him, I'd throw a couple late firsts out for him, or maybe what's projected to be a high first and a second, because I think you got something you can rely on for years to come.
Yeah, I can't argue at all with you there. I'm not a big CEH guy, but after what a lot of people consider to be a disappointing rookie season, he was the running back 22.
Missing time.
I see him being able to maybe come up to that top of RB2 range, but I think with what you said about him being in a Pat Mahomes offense, an Andy Reid offense, might be a pretty secure place for him. So my round 3 ride or die is CD Lamb. Now stacking him with my Dak pick, and I'm excited to see what they can do together this season. In the first 5 games last season, he averaged 6 catches for 87 yards and half a touchdown. Now, I hate extrapolation, so I'm not going to do it. Justin Jefferson, we just finished talking about him, was amazing. And I don't think people really realize what CD did last year. He had the 17th most receptions for a rookie since 1970 and the 28th most receiving yards. But those numbers don't sound that great. 17th, 28th. But he had 9 games with Andy Dalton, 1 with Ben DiNucci, and 1 with what's eating Gilbert Grape, or whatever that guy's name is. Pick up CD right now. This is the least expensive he will ever be, because he will be the wide receiver 1 on that team this year. CD is my ride or die. Don?
I love what you said about CD, and I'm absolutely there with you. I have him in 2 different leagues, and I've been fielding all kinds of offers for him, and I refuse to even look at them because he's not moving anywhere.
Don's not lying. I approached him with A.J. Brown looking for CD Lamb and a little bit of extra on top, and he quickly told me to go to hell.
I was nicer than that.
Yeah, you're nicer than that, but I thought I could buy CD Lamb low off you.
No dice.
Not a thing. But we are going to go back to Dallas here, because for round 3 here, give me Zeke. I'll take him. He is captain consistent, and that's what I want out of my running backs. I want to know that I'm going to get a quality start. I want to know that I'm going to get quality yardage and good touchdown opportunities out of my guys to give me a consistent score. Yeah, he might not blow up for 40 every week, but you know what? There is always that opportunity because that Dallas offense is just dynamic. And with the offensive line coming back and Dak coming back, his numbers are going to go right back to where they had been and where they should be because all those weapons are going to have to be honored, and he's just going to be right there to feast.
Couldn't agree more. Rob?
I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I also picked Zeke as my ride or die in round 3. The guy's 25 years old. He's been in the league for what seems like an eternity now, and he's done something that Clyde Edwards-Helaire hasn't done, which is finish as a top 12 running back. In fact, he's done it every season in his career, including the time when he suspended 2 years ago, including last year when he only had 6 touchdowns, an injured O-line, poor quarterback play. I'm not worried about him at all. He also fumbled 6 times last year and lost 5. That's the biggest concern, and I don't think that's a sticky statistic. I think he was definitely facing a more loaded box than he will with a healthy Dak, and I expect that number to come down quite a bit. But top 12 running back last year with under 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's due for regression positive regression in so many categories: yards, receiving, touchdowns, the fumbles going down, everything. Give me Zeke, and if you're afraid of him, sell him to me.
We are all in on the Cowboys, people. All in on the Cowboys. Well, if you think you found a great offense, check to see who the head coach is and realize it's Mike McCarthy, and maybe we're putting our too much money on a Mike McCarthy offense. Oh, but I still believe in Dak. All right, gentlemen, round 4, our final round. We watched one rookie go in each of the first 3 rounds. Now we start to see a youth movement. We start at 37 with Jamar Chase, followed by Darren Waller. Then we have Justin Fields, Austin Ekeler, Trey Lance, Joe Mixon, Terry McLaurin, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, Jalen Hurts, Michael Thomas, and Miles Sanders. Now, I'll go first on this one. My round 4 ride or die player is hands down Michael Thomas. Now, I'm old enough to remember Thomas putting up 4 straight amazing years to start his career. And then let me check my notes. Hold on one second. He was injured last year. Okay? So I don't get why everybody's suddenly off Michael Thomas. Now, I understand the QB situation is unresolved. Best case, he gets Jameis Winston, who made Godwin the wide receiver 2 in only 14 games, and Evans the wide receiver 15 in only 13 games in 2019. Worst case, he gets Taysom Hill. Remember, though, that Taysom loves Michael Thomas. In the 4 games they played together, Taysom targeted MT 37 times for 30 receptions and 343 yards. I feel the most comfortable, if I'm going for a championship, taking somebody who has the NFL pedigree, who has done it in the league multiple times. MT is my ride or die for round 4. Don, who do you have?
Give me a quality running back who's going to catch the ball ad nauseum all day, every day, in a backfield now that he can absolutely dominate. They're not going to ask him to do things he can't do. They're not going to force feed him the rock on the ground. They're going to give him the ball through the air, which gets you outstanding point value in points per catch, yards rushing, and yards passing, and then TD accessibility. You can pencil that in like crazy with a quality quarterback now instead of an unsettled situation last year.
Yeah, I love Austin Ekeler this year. I think I thought I was higher than most on him in our tiers, and then I found out we all kind of had him around the same range.
I was talking with someone. What do you guys think his floor is if he's healthy for the full games in terms of receptions? Like 60? Like, I feel like that's a floor if he plays 17 games. I don't know.
I think that's pretty easy. I mean, I could see him getting upwards of 8 targets a game.
Yeah.
I don't think that's out of the question.
Yeah, and like Don said, those touches are just so valuable.
Well, and we know those touches are worth more, even though I did take Derrick Henry earlier. Rob, who do you have as your ride or die?
I was trying not to jump in the conversation here, but Don's the lightning, and I'm just the thunder echoing him here. I've also taken Austin Ekeler. Just like everyone said, I mean, I'm buying Joe Lombardi's narrative this offseason, he's Alvin Kamara for the Chargers. He was the RB4 in 2019 with Rivers passing him the ball. He was beat up last year. He had a hamstring strain. It's not something that anyone should be worried about going forward. And I'm not as concerned with his age at 26 as I am with other backs, considering he mostly is a receiving weapon and he's not taking those big hits. Last year, he played 8 full games with Justin Herbert. I know we were talking about his floor. His 8-game pace, if you statted it out for 17 games, is absolutely insane. 201 attempts for 922 yards, 110 receptions on 133 targets for another 845, and 6 combined touchdowns. And that's his 8-game. That's his pace with the 8 games played with Herbert. If Herbert takes a step forward, if Mike Williams doesn't break out like Kit thinks he might in year 5, if no one else is there besides Keenan Allen and Jared Cook, Austin Ekeler is the second weapon on that. I easily see a scenario where he gets over 100 targets this year and absolutely feast.
Yeah, he's definitely has the opportunity to be like a CMC light this year for the Chargers, and I really like the pairing of him with Herbert. Kit, Mike Williams is not available in this round, so who's your ride or die?
I mean, technically he's available.
Technically it's available.
True. You would have to
would
reach
be a stretch
by about 13 rounds.
So I went with Darren Waller. And I think there's a strong argument to be made that he's the tight end one. He's 3 years younger than Kelsey, had one more target than Kelsey did last year. Watching George Kittle is an absolute pleasure, but he plays violently and I think has gotten dinged up a couple years in a row, or 2 of the last 3 years. He's got really poor competition for targets. Bringing in John Brown does not change that. Both of the rookies last year didn't look like they were properly used or got it going. Not that I'm writing either of them off, but it feels like he's essentially a wide receiver one. I mentioned the same thing with Devontae Adams. I expect him to be very high up there in terms of target share percentage among receivers or pass catchers, I guess, in general. Again, if you're at least following this ADP valuation, I'd be looking to trade Kelsey or Kittle, or the fact that Pitts is going over him is ridiculous to me, for Waller and getting an asset or an upgrade at another position, right? You can do what they see as a downgrade and I don't see as necessarily a downgrade, and add something sweet.
That's why it is so important to know ADP when you go into a draft. Yes, people do not follow ADP, but there's a reason why it exists, right? Enough people have done it, which is why it's reflected in the numbers. So be aware before you start a draft of what the ADP is, and make sure you're picking the ADP for the format that you're in. Don't choose a standard format if you're PPR, right? Or super flex if you're 1 QB. Make sure you're picking the right ADP. Now, gentlemen, we have a special surprise for us tonight. We have a game. Keep Trade Cut with our host, Mr. Fahrenheit himself, Don Detweiler. Don?
It's super nice to be contributed to a scale is that valuable. So here's the deal, guys. The rules are quite simple. I'll give you 3 names. You have to decide if you are going to keep that player, if you're going to trade them, or if you're going to cut them. No, you can't have them all. In keeping with the spirit of things, we kept players that are in the top of the 4 rounds for ADP. So you guys get the concept of the game. Again, you have to either keep, trade, or cut the player. You get one of each for each grouping. We're going to start with JJ's favorite position here, the tight ends. These players are super variable, and we know, as per our Sleeper ADP, thank you for the good people at Sleeper, that 1, 2, 3 are Kelsey, Waller, and Kittle. But now 4, 5, 6, where does the value lie? Do we take the target magnet that's going to be TJ Hockenson from Detroit? Do we want Mark Andrews, the touchdown machine from Baltimore? Or do we want Kyle Pitts, the what we presume to be super awesome, but who really knows in Atlanta anyway? Since JJ's favorite position is the tight ends, JJ, you get to lead us off.
All right, so keep trade cut, tight end edition, TJ Hockenson, Mark Andrews, or Kyle Pitts. I am going to keep Mark Andrews, which probably is a lot of people's cut. Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson do have a great chemistry, and I think the Baltimore offense is going to take the next step this year. So I'm taking Mark Andrews. Keep trade? I'm going to trade TJ Hockenson. No, I'm going to trade Kyle Pitts. for like a first or 2 firsts. Somebody's going to give that to me. People are crazy about Kyle Pitts, and he hasn't caught one ball yet. And then keep trade. Oh, no. Wait, I have to cut TJ Hawkinson? I hate this game. I want to keep all 3.
If only you could. No, that was explicit in the rules. You must cut one. We all realize that that's not going to happen, but yeah.
I'm keeping Mark Andrews. I'm trading Pitts, and I'm cutting TJ Hawkinson because you made me.
Yeah, I know. I'm evil. Kit?
I'm absolutely trading Kyle Pitts for the same reason that JJ said. I mean, just in terms of what you could get back for him, people would probably give up, and I think they have given up like Mark Andrews and a first, which is ridiculous, like I said, but I think it's happening out there, right? So he's the one I'm trading because I think I can get the most value from it. I'll take Hawkinson as my keep just because I think his floor is higher. Obviously, I do agree that Andrews has the potential to score 13, 14 touchdowns, which is very exciting. But, he's on the field less than I expect Hawkinson to be. He is one of their top targets, but I expect Hawkinson to really be a target hog and them to throw a lot more than the Ravens do. So I'll begrudgingly cut Mark Andrews.
Rob?
I'm fully on board with what Kit just said. Give me TJ Hawkinson there. I think he's going to be a target machine this year. There's no competition. Mark Andrews has some target competition down in Baltimore for the first time in his career. And Mark Andrews is a bit more touchdown dependent, I would say, than TJ Hawkinson. I worry about his consistency year to year. You weren't happy with him for a big chunk of last year. Trade Kyle Pitts for all the reasons you guys just said. I can't keep him. He hasn't proved it in the NFL. I think TJ Hawkinson and Andrews has. And for what you can trade him for right now, give me the trade package I get back for Kyle Pitts.
Gentlemen, you are correct in your trade assessment here. You have to trade Pitts for all the things, and don't accept an offer that's not massive, because people are paying literally anything you ask. Ask stupid things, and you will get them. It's unbelievable right now. The guy you want is Hawkinson. He's the only real receiver on that team, which is kind of pathetic and scary. And Jared Goff has had...
Quintez Cephas?
My statement stands. Thank you, sir. Oh,
Tyrell Williams?
Okay, and Jared Goff has a history of throwing to tight ends, making 2 of them actually fantasy relevant with the Rams. So he's going to get piled up with targets because somebody has to. And then by default, Mark Andrews, so long, farewell. All right, next, guys, on to the quarterbacks. My Mahomie, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Kyler Murray are the top 3 in ADP, but the next group brings something different. We've got Justin Herbert, the classic. He can move around some, but he's got the rocket arm. We've got Dak, the maestro, who orchestrates the Dallas offense like an absolute symphony. And then we've got Lamar Jackson, the sultan of the spread, the master of misdirection. Will he pass? Will he run? Only the shadow knows. Sorry, I was watching old-timey TV shows earlier, and that's an old reference. But the point stands. Who will you keep? Who will you trade? And who will you cut? Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, and Lamar Jackson. Kit, lead us off.
Yeah, so I like these guys pretty close, even though my aforementioned love for Dak. So I think you can get the most in a trade for Justin Herbert. And it's awesome as he was. He's done it for less time than the other two. So there's a little bit more risk there in my mind. But just sheerly out of the fact that I think I can get the most out of him, I would trade Herbert. I'm going to keep Dak for all the reasons JJ and I were waxing poetically on earlier, and never would actually like to do this. But Lamar seems to have theoretically more risk in that he's running the ball. I know he does a good job of not taking hits, but it's always something you got to be concerned about when you're generating lots of your fantasy points on the ground.
Rob,
I think I'm echoing him here. I've got Lamar Jackson, and it's here lower than Dak and Herbert, so he's a pretty easy cut for me. And I think it comes down to getting a haul for Herbert. You can get more for Herbert, and I think almost unanimously on this pod, maybe not, everyone likes Dak higher than his ADP. I've got Dak as my QB3. I would be thrilled to have him and get the trade package for Herbert and keep what I think is a superior player for a cheaper value.
All right, JJ, bring us in.
All right, so in this round of keep trade, I am keeping Dak. I am trading Herbert for all the reasons, right? Everybody said it. And I'm also keeping Lamar Jackson because he is phenomenal. But I guess I'll cut him.
The correct answer goes like this. We keep Dak. Duh. He's young enough that he's going to get you a long enough duration of superior play with a phenomenal weapons offense. Great. You're going to trade Lamar Jackson because the people who love him and will pay crazy, crazy things. And yeah, people like Herbert a lot. Herbert is, at this moment, a one-year player. So while I think you can probably get more for Jackson, in this situation, Herbert's the cut. All right, boys, on to the wide receiver crew here. We have 3 guys who are separated by a total of 0.75 ADP in their rankings, and they're all different. They all bring you different things. Do we want Old Reliable? Do we want Hotlana's new number 1? Or do we want Jerry's new Ferrari? The 3 here are going to be D-Hop, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and CD Lamb. So, Rob, it's your turn to go first. D-Hop, Calvin Ridley, or CD Lamb?
I'm keeping CD Lamb. What he did with Dak on a limited scale, like JJ hinted to earlier, he exceeded all expectations. He was on an astronomical pace. He probably could have been a wide receiver 1 this year, which is absolutely insane for a rookie to come in and do that, especially if we had 2 rookies come in and do that. I'm trading Calvin Ridley, especially straight, fresh off the Julio Jones trade. I think Calvin's slightly older than most people realize, and I'd like to capitalize on a little bit of hype coming underneath him after Julio's gone, and I'm cutting Hopkins. Hopkins is the best pure receiver out of the 3 of these guys. It's purely an age game and purely the return on investment there. It's not a slight on DeAndre Hopkins. He's an absolute beast. He's going to do it. He's going to do it well for another couple years. I want him on my team, but I got to cut him here.
JJ.
I think this round of keep trade cut, you have to look at the quarterbacks. I'm keeping CD Lamb. I like Dak the most. I'm trading D-Hop because people are really hot for the Arizona offense right now. I am not high on Kyler Murray. I think that he has to prove something this year. I think the coach has to prove something this year. And I'm going to cut Ridley only because they have out of the 3, I trust the quarterback situation the least. Atlanta's a team who should be rebuilding and isn't. So I don't know what his long-term outcome is going to be in hot Atlanta.
So I'm going a different way with this. I think that I would trade CD Lamb. I think, like you said about Lamar, people out there who like CD Lamb a lot. Think he will be the Dynasty wide receiver 1 by halfway through this season. Right? And so if you can find somebody in your league who's going to give you that level of value, I just don't see you getting that level of value for Ridley or Hopkins. And so he's the one I'm looking to trade. I would probably keep Ridley. I think that, he already got crazy volume with Julio there. And he does occasionally get dinged up a little bit, and I know he's not young anymore, but he was already so successful as essentially the second fiddle. He's going to get peppered with targets. There's some more competition in Arizona with Rondale Moore and the corpse of AJ Green, and so great player as well. But I'm going to begrudgingly cut.
The corpse of AJ Green. So sad to say that it's come to this, but here we are. All right, boys. As expected here, with a variation of 0.75 in ADP for the 3 players, we would expect varying opinions, and we certainly got them. The correct answers, however, though, you're keeping CD Lamb because you can pencil him in at wide receiver 1 and be happy forever. The correct guy to trade is D-Hop. We all know that there are folks who don't listen to podcasts, don't turn in the homework, and just roll in with their rolled up, newly purchased fantasy guide to your startup draft or to your year. And everybody knows D-Hop. You're going to get the most value out of D-Hop because everybody knows D-Hop. They know he's going to be good. And yeah, Kyler Murray is going to force feed him the ball. So there's going to be value there too. So you can sell or at least make that extra push to the manager who's trying to give you things. So D-Hop is the one you want to sell. And in this case, Ridley puts up solid seasons, and yet nobody knows him. And now he's already overshadowed by a rookie coming in that we don't even know if he's good. So here it is. The man who continues to live in the shadow, Calvin Ridley, will stay there and be our cut in this set. Now, on to the running backs. 3 guys who've been around for a while, but we all absolutely love. They're touchdown machines. They're receiving threats. They can run the ball. They can do it all. It's Austin Ekeler, Aaron Jones, and Zeke Elliott. It is brutally difficult, gentlemen. And because things are so hard, we go to the expert. Kit, you get to lead us off. Zeke, Ekeler, or Aaron Jones?
Okay, I'm keeping Ekeler for all the reasons that we talked about before. I think as Herbert gets better, he's going to have an opportunity to really have some prolific pass catching seasons and be CMC light, and maybe not even that light, right? 85% of that. I also am not as concerned about, for most 26-year-olds, he doesn't have lots of touches because he was, basically the backup to Gordon or splitting time with Gordon for so much of his early career. And I just think he's the least likely to fetch you the most in a trade. I'm not sure. I guess right now I would trade Zeke because there's uncertainty about Aaron Rodgers, which has people depressed in terms of what they're thinking their value of Aaron Jones would be. So I'm assuming I can get more in a trade for Zeke if I put him out on the market than I could for Aaron Jones. Between them, I think it's pretty equal who you like, and if Aaron Rodgers is back, it's more or less a toss-up to me. And so then I'm cutting Aaron Jones.
JJ.
All right, this was a little tougher for me. I am keeping Zeke because I think he has a ton of value on my team, but not a lot of value in a trade. People are down on Zeke. They don't think he's good anymore. I am trading Ekeler because he's starting to get some buzz, and I'd rather trade him right now than wait until, it starts to come back down to earth. Aaron Jones, I'm cutting. Only because I'm unsure of the situation, and I have to cut. That's part of the game. So Aaron Jones, I think, has the least trade value of the three.
I'm with... man, this is a tough one. I think I'm with JJ here. I think you have to trade Ekeler simply because he doesn't have the negative offseason news that Zeke's getting and that Aaron Jones is getting. Aaron Jones has some uncertainty with Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? He's got a easy out in his contract after next year. Zeke, there's been so many people on fantasy Twitter this summer beating the drum saying, sell now, sell now. This is your last opportunity to do it. That, I think you got to sell Ekeler here. And I'm absolutely torn between who I would keep between Aaron Jones and Zeke. I give the slight nod to Zeke and copy JJ here. I'm a little more confident in what Zeke can do this year because there isn't that quarterback uncertainty. Give me Zeke in 2021, and I think future seasons is probably going to be a wash, but let me just avoid the offseason question marks, and I'll take Zeke and cut Aaron Jones.
All right, gentlemen, in the most difficult of all the questions I've posed you thus far, Aaron Jones has to be our cut simply because he gets ground to powder if Aaron Rodgers loses his mind and does not come back to Green Bay. We're going to have to trade Zeke because the hope will be that people will want him based on the offense coming back and falling into actual rhythms. Although I agree with you, I don't think we're going to get that much, but I just cannot bring myself to not keep Ekeler. He's going to be, to me, he's better longer term. That's what I got to take. All right, boys. Excellent job thus far. I got one more for you, the bonus round, the rookie edition. Yes, I didn't tell you this was coming, but here it is. 3 rookies for you. Now, we're going to mix position grouping here of first-round talents. All high volume, all interesting different plays. The new guy in Chicago, the pride of Ohio State, Mr. Fields, comes in to save a possible offense there. We have a quarterback wide receiver familiarity situation in Chase, who rolls into Cincinnati knowing the quarterback already being the new downfield threat and possibly target monster there that's going to set all the wide receivers into their correct slots in the offense. And then my guy, I'll just load it right now, the pride of Pittsburgh Steelers, Najee Harris, the new bell cow in Pittsburgh, the running threat, the receiving threat, possibly the last of the do-it-all running backs. Boys, who do we have? Harris, Chase, or Fields? JJ, you get to lead us off.
All right, this is very, very easy. Justin Fields is the keep. This everything I do is from a super flex perspective. I love Justin Fields. I think he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback once they get rid of Matt Nagy. I think Jamar Chase has a lot of trade value. People drafted him early. Yeah, in a lot of drafts, he was the first non-QB skill position player to go. So I'm trading Jamar Chase. Najee Harris might be the bell cow, but he's headed to the slaughterhouse. I don't trust that line. I don't trust his yards per carry. And I'm worried what happens when Roethlisberger leaves. All those things together, I still like Najee Harris. But out of those three, he is definitely the guy I'm cutting.
Rob.
Sorry.
I feel like this episode is just me being a broken record. I'm echoing everything JJ said. It's super flex. You got to take Justin Fields.
That's good, because that's how you get to come back.
It makes up for my dig at the Jets earlier. But I think you got to take the quarterback here, Justin Fields. He was my pre-draft quarterback 2. Even after the draft, I waffle as to whether he's my quarterback 2 or quarterback 3. I love Justin Fields. He's the clear value here to me. And then the Jamar Chase versus Najee Harris is a tough one. But I think you have to sell a rookie wide receiver who's already going as the wide receiver 10 in startup ADP. That is just absolutely insane to me. I think the value there is, there's so many guys. You could get a first for Jamar Chase and probably get a guy like Cooper Kupp rather than cutting Najee. And I would much rather be in that situation. You could probably get more than Cooper Kupp, honestly. But I think the answer is you got to sell the guy who's never taken a snap in the NFL that's already going as a wide receiver 1. And that means you got to cut Najee.
Kit.
Going to be super boring and agree. I think, positional value, I think Justin Fields is going to be very good. Having a very good quarterback in Superflex is more valuable than having a very good receiver or running back. And so, yeah, I think we keep Justin Fields. I would also trade Chase just because I think there are some concerns out there that, like JJ voiced, that Najee is going to be behind about offensive line and have some issues in the future if Ben does retire. As a cop-out, I would probably see what I could get more for, and if I could get more for Najee, then I'd trade him. But in this case, I think you're going to get more for Chase. To Rob's point, top 10 already, and so then I would cut Najee.
Oh, you guys are so wrong. It's unbelievable. I even tipped my hand, and you couldn't do it. You got to keep Harris. You just have to. Running backs who get that kind of volume are so difficult to find that regardless, if it's one thing the Steelers have always demonstrated, it's that they figure it out. It might take a year, but they figure it out. So maybe he doesn't work this year, definitely works next year.
I wish I had that kind of optimism for my franchise, and I know JJ definitely doesn't have that optimism.
I do not.
The guy I have to cut here, we'll go to the tough one first, is Fields, because I have no faith in Ohio State quarterbacks. I'm sorry. I just don't. I've seen too many break my heart. I've seen too many come in and not be prepared and fail. Now, all the words we hear about Fields are wonderful, that he's an absolute football junkie and that he is rolling. But he's rolling with Matt Nagy. Which just stinks to me like a guy who's going to get ruined by multiple offensive coordinators, because he's going to come in, learn a system, have that yanked from him, have to learn a new system, have that yanked for him when they inevitably fail and have to try to save the next guy. And so I fear for Fields, who could be an excellent player, that gets ruined. So the guy I am trading is Chase, and the guy I am cutting is Fields. Gentlemen, excellent job, good work all around, and as per usual, we'll just declare JJ the winner for why not, because points are mythical and that's fun.
Well, mostly because you are turning the hosting duty back to me, and I was going to declare myself the winner anyway. But I don't think there was a winner today. I think we can all agree on that. There was only the loser.
The
Don.
listeners are the winner, JJ. The listeners.
The riders are the winner. Well, it is time for tags, where we let the riders know where they can find us and any final thoughts. Don?
Ladies and gentlemen, you know the social media Sasquatch here likes to be elusive, but if you need me or want any kind of thing to get back to me, please hit us at Rider or Dynasty on the Twitter, and the boys will read whatever you ask me on the air. They'll embarrass me with it, and it'll be fun. Guys, when you want real advice, please go to the beat writers. They're the ones who are embedded with the teams and really have the best insight.
Rob?
I'm going to discuss a not fantasy football topic today. But also a fantasy is England bringing home this Euro Cup trophy over the weekend. Little jab post 4th of July. The United States of America, not in Europe, has as many Euro Cup final appearances as England. Suck it, England.
Poor Duncan.
Hey, whoa. Duncan is from Scotland, not England.
Aren't they
Duncan also
together?
hates England. We're good. We've been...
Oh, my God. Duncan is going to come over here and stab you.
Duncan's going to love that take.
You can find me on Twitter at KitV_DynastyFF. I'm on Reddit, trying not to be too contentious in the comments at KitKit123. And while I agree with Don that you want to listen to the beat writers, I should probably take my own advice here and not buy training camp hype or disparaging reports. Don't go too into those. Again, I'd like to bring it up. Remember, Justin Jefferson couldn't beat out BC Johnson for the number 2 role. He was a disaster. Maybe not at this time, but 3 weeks from now, a year ago. So hedge a little bit with when you hear those reports. Wait until they get out there against NFL competition in live games before you really start making your judgments on the rookies and the younger folks.
And I'm at JJ Wenner on Twitter. Special thank you to Don for putting together the game for tonight. Thank you, Rob and Kit, for joining me. As always, the Dynasty Basics tip of the pod. People, play fantasy. Play fantasy a lot. It can be a free league. It can be a paid league. Dynasty, redraft. Do it all. And most importantly, when you're listening to advice from people, make sure that there's somebody who plays a lot of fantasy, right? If you're following a Dynasty writer, that there aren't in just 2 Dynasty leagues. There's a lot of them out there. The only way to learn how to play this game is by playing this game a lot. So it might be a lot to manage, but try it out. That's how you learn the most. That's how I have learned the most in playing in way too many leagues, and don't play this for my wife. So from all of us, all of you, be safe, be well, and remember, never say anything to make a meeting longer or cut a happy hour short. Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.